A jam-packed Thursday NHL slate. We're breaking down 3 games. Carm continues to ride the ladder. I have some props for you and best bets at the end of the show. Myself, Andrew McGinnis, Carmine Bianco, and Mr. Bryan Leonard joining us on today's show. Looking forward to breaking down some games with these gentlemen. Carm, how are you? And what are the games you chose for us today?
Yeah, we get a push with the ladder challenge play, but we're back at it today with a play that absolutely cannot push. It can only win or lose, and hopefully it is a win. Yeah, we're going to talk Nashville in Florida. Florida's first game back after traveling almost 11,000 miles on a 5-game road trip that took them to Finland. And then we're going to talk Buffalo Sabres and the New York Rangers. Andrew, your prop segment where you're going to give us some more winners. Then we're going to talk about a revenge game, rematch of the first round of last year's Western Conference, Colorado and the Winnipeg Jets, the hot Winnipeg Jets, 12-1. The ladder challenge play, our best bet segment. And then we're going to close it out. And hopefully we can give you some winners or some actionable info along the way. Joining us, he's back from Arizona where he picked up some spring training. Welcome, Bryan. Just give us a little bit of info on your trip before we get into this Florida game. How is it out in the desert?
Yeah, it worked out really well. They had the First Pitch Arizona, which is basically it's a fantasy baseball symposium with some of the smartest guys in the world there. And I was able to pick up some answers to some of my questions I wanted. I was probably, I won't say the only one, but one of the few sports bettors there. So most of my information was based on what I wanted to find out was a little bit something that we could use for baseball season. I picked up a few of those things that worked out well, but I was a little bit surprised. People who play fantasy baseball are not sports gamblers. If you got that kind of information, especially with the props now and all, I would expect more of that. But yeah, I got to meet a lot of the guys I respected and listened to their podcasts, and I gained a few. So I'm looking forward to next baseball season.
Yeah, you always do well in baseball, and I think it's a lot of it, Bryan, has to do with the fact that you do attend spring training, whether it's in Arizona, whether it's in Florida. So kudos to you. You put in the work, which is very important. And to your point, yeah, it translates into other sports like fantasy football. A lot of guys who do fantasy football stay with fantasy football and don't actually bet the games. They bet the players and do extremely well with it. But let's get to this first one. Florida minus 200. The Nashville Predators plus 170. The total sits here at 6, shaded to the over, minus 20 cents. And as I mentioned, a 5-game, that Florida road trip, 5 wins in a row, I think it is, 10,600 miles. This team collected those Aero Miles points for sure in that one. Now they got a 5-game homestand. They're going to play 8 of their next 10 games at Sunrise Arena. And I watched some interviews with some of the Florida players when they got back, and specifically one of them with their head coach, Paul Maurice, Bryan, and he talked about, he goes, we logged a lot of kilometers or a lot of miles. He goes, he's done this before where he had to take one of his teams that he coached before to Europe. He goes, when you come back, he goes, the guys are hyper, ready to go, fired up to get on the ice. And then that first game comes and there's like an energy lag, he said. And he goes, it's trying to manage the team through that energy lag. He goes, that which could last a week. Does that come into your handicapping now? I know we talked about it before the trip, but this is a Florida team that's playing extremely well right now. Second best record to the Winnipeg Jets, and they're playing a Nashville team that's clearly struggling. Does this factor in at all the fear that this team may not be able to come out of the gates firing like they did prior to coming back?
Yeah, you always have to take that into account. It's sort of like baseball coming out of the All-Star break, NBA second half of the season, teams haven't played. So you do have to take that into account. From the Pred standpoint, they've completely overhauled their team from the offseason. They're having major problems trying to find the right fit. 4-8-1 is their record so far. They've been outscored by 13 goals. 9 out of 13 games have been at home, so it's even worse than what it looks like on the outside. You take a look at their expected goal share, it's at 47.78. Just won't get it done in that regards. And it's also a poor scheduling spot, having played 3 games in the last 4 days, including losing last night in Washington. We used the Capitals yesterday as a rare 5% play, and it worked out well for us. This is also a club that will be on the road for 7 of 8 games, so they need to turn this thing around and do it quickly if this Nashville team is looking to get to the playoffs and all the signings they did in the offseason. That would be it worst for them to make the playoffs. So we're going to pay a lot of attention to Nashville here in the next week. Florida has played, as you mentioned, a lot of hockey the last 2 seasons, making it to the finals the last 2 years. That could be a concern later on in the season when depth becomes a factor. It hasn't really cost them as of yet. Right now, they have a 9-3-1 mark and sit at first place in the Atlantic. Florida has a 50.89 expected goal share on the season, but only 5 of their 13 games have been played at home. So they're even better than what their numbers say. I know they're not fully staffed right now, but they're getting guys back. And this is a team that's very good. Now, as you mentioned, this is the first game back to the States after taking on and sweeping the Dallas Stars. That was key for them to get that sweep there. So they should be fresh with the last 4 days off. But as you said, the long flight does make a difference. And they also play 5 straight games at home, as you mentioned. So it's an opportune time for them to bag some victories here if they got the legs tonight. The opening line opened at 180. Now we're seeing 195, $2. That's a little bit too rich for my blood. If Florida would have been in the States and they had the schedule, I would have played them. But as you mentioned, you never know what you're going to get out of these teams coming back from that long layoff. So I like Florida, but I'm not willing to lay this number.
I get it, Brian. I want to see this team, so I'm staying off the side in this one before I go to Andrew. And you talk about bagging victories. I would be remiss if I didn't mention you bagged a 5% winner yesterday with the Washington Capitals. So congratulations on that one. Andrew, I'm taking the over 1.5 in the first period here, mainly because we'll see whether there's a leg from this Florida team, but they're also a Florida team that are 10-3 to the first period over this season. So it is a number that has been, or a prop that has been profitable if you've been blindly taking Florida overs, and it's only minus 130. We'll see what we get out of Nashville. Looks like it's Wedgwood in goal tonight for Nashville after Saros started yesterday. Thoughts on this game?
Carm, my thoughts on this game are pretty much exactly what you just said. So way to go, man. We're on the same page. So we're on the same pick, and the over 1.5 first period for me. Look, there was a time and place where 1.5 overs in the first period was a trendy bet, but at one point people would look at you weird. It's kind of like people that bet the no runs first inning, or even betting a first 5 inning under in baseball, or first 3.5 inning, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this. If your book doesn't offer 1.5 in the first period props, I don't know, you're not doing it right, because there's so many. I mean, every book should be offering first period totals. And the thing is, a lot of the times these games are starting out fast and then they're slowing down. And last night, I continued to mention that system that's been working really well for me with betting the over in the first period with teams off a game where they were shut out. And yesterday, I was lucky enough to only pick one of the scenarios that it applied to yesterday, and it was the early game featuring the Capitals and the Predators, and we did get a 1-1 scoreline, so that hit. And I know this is not one of those scenarios where a team got shut out, but as you guys have talked about extensively, you've got the Florida travel pathway for them right now. And although they're at home, they've done well at home. There's definitely a lot of travel mixed in. Then you got a Nashville team that's just absolutely gutted right now. I tip my cap to Bryan for that 5% yesterday because, it's an example. I said yesterday on the show, it's an example of what's a team doing for me lately versus what's a team doing that we thought was going to be doing this whole season, right? And that's what I said yesterday. And I didn't listen to myself because, this is a team that right now, yesterday, expected goals, according to Money Puck, 3.49. So you throw in 3.49, most teams would actually be happy about that because there's obviously going to be a goal sometimes that might not be expected, or a bad goal from the goalie, or a tip in, or a deflection. So if you're going to get 3.49, it's not bad. But I'll tell you what, some of these underlying numbers don't really show what Nashville's doing defensively. And it's not good. It's not pretty. If they didn't have one of the better goalies in the league, guys, and I think UC Saros is very underrated, and they've got a good duo as well there, it could be a hell of a lot worse. His expected goal numbers are anywhere between 4.5 and 6 for this Capitals team that played yesterday against Nashville. It's not good. But yeah, like you guys talked about, Florida right now, they're a team that I don't want to step in front of. That's for sure. And as Brian mentioned, the number based on the opener has only gone up, and nobody's going against this Florida team. I don't have it in me to take Nashville tonight, but I'm going to take the over 1.5 in the first period. And I will say this, guys, things don't get any easier for the Predators. When a team is in a losing streak, we think about when the Avalanche started off their poor season, right? Who did they have in a row? They had the Sharks, they had the Ducks, they had the Kraken, who weren't playing very well. They were gifted a weaker schedule in front of them to get back on track. Things do not get any easier for the Nashville Predators. And there was a quote from Barry Trotz, the GM of the Predators, that after picking up Marchessault and Stamkos in the offseason, guys, he was on a radio show local in Nashville, and he said, "I'm trying to do some things right now. We'll be limited because of contracts, but if we don't get things going, then I'm going to start our real rebuild plan." And it's crazy to say that here on November 7th, a GM talking about a real rebuild plan. But if you're not even floating around 500 at this point, it does not look good for a team with as many superstar players that they have. So that's my long-winded way of telling you, Carm, that I agree with your first period play.
Yeah, Andrew, we talk about coaches, and I should be the last guy who talks about coaches because I tried to fire Pat Maurice about 18 times over 2 years, and he won a cup and made it to another cup final. But you wonder if they continue to struggle, is Andrew Brunet the scapegoat? Do they look at it that last year he plateaued in getting the team having a great final month of the season, getting the team into the playoffs? Is that it? Like, do they can him? Because we've seen coaches on better teams get canned. Cue the Edmonton Oilers last season, and look how they turned around their season. But a lot more stars on that team, obviously, than the Nashville Predators. But you have to think about the money that was spent, and they're underperforming. Does he have a short leash? Because we're 13 or 14 games into the season. Thoughts from either one of you guys before we get to this next game?
I have thoughts, but mine are regarding to the players, the guys that went out and went to that team expecting them to be a contender, and now you're coming out now and saying maybe we need to do a rebuild. What about these guys who just went there and risked their futures on that team, and now they're going to a rebuilding situation? It's not going to look good to those guys.
No, it won't. My instant thoughts, Carm, is kind of like what just based on last night's game that I watched, because I'll be honest, I only watched the last 10 or 15 minutes of it. Why are coaches pulling the goalie with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go in the game? Okay, you tied the game and a goal was called off. They had like a 5-minute review. All hope was lost on the bench. You have to give your team more time. I'm not a fan of coaches like Patrick Waugh that will pull the goalie with like 5 minutes to go. That's just ridiculous. But if you pull the goalie with like 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, if the other team dumps the puck down the ice once, you're screwed. So I'm not saying that's a reason to be fired, but that's on the coach. That's on the coach there, you know.
Listen, this is why I love John Cooper. The guy pulls his goalie with 6 minutes left if they're down 2 or 3 goals. He pulls his goalie. He's an over-better's dream at times. Because like a lot of sports books, especially the legalized ones here now in Ontario, Canada, they will take the totals off the board when there's 2.5 to 3 minutes left in the game because of the empty net pulling of the goalie. When you have a guy like John Cooper coaching, if you're live betting Tampa games here in Ontario and they're losing, you want to be on that app. You want to be ready to bet because they are not taking it off. It's like they're set, whether it's an algorithm, what they have set. The minute that it hits the 3-minute clock, those totals come off the board at books like Bet365, like even Pinnacle is licensed here. Those prices are coming off the board. But when he's pulling his goalie with 6 minutes left, you can jump on those totals and jump on the over. You still have to hit it. But he's a bettor's dream, Andrew. But we talked enough about this game. Congratulations to Washington on winning for Bryan yesterday. Ovechkin for getting to within 33 goals of Wayne Gretzky. And our man who's always in our chat, Wash Redskin, he's already on 6th Avenue with a chair getting ready for the Capitals parade. He's kind of like the Leaf fans here. All kidding aside, Andrew, cue up the next game for us.
Brian, let's talk about the Rangers and the Buffalo Sabres. We got a -200 price tag in this one as well. We have the Sabres coming off a win where they scored 5 goals. One of the better games we've seen out of this Sabres team this season, but not really sure we can expect that in back-to-back games out of them. But some of their players are certainly finding their offense. And for this Rangers team, it's been a little bit inconsistent with their offense. So I might shock some people with my play on this one. I'm going to be short and simple. I actually like the under in this game. New York has stolen some games with their goaltending. Their defensive play, their blue liners, they're all veteran players. They're tough guys. I just think when I look at this Rangers schedule right now, the up and down play of them defensively, for me, this is a game against the Buffalo Sabres team that's probably going to feel good about 5 goals in their last game. I think the Rangers are going to shut them down. Goals are going to be hard to come by for the Buffalo Sabres. The current price right now is 6 at -105 to the under. And that's my bet, looking for a lower scoring one featuring these two teams. What are your thoughts, Bri?
Well, the Sabres come in with a less than desirable 5-7-1 record, but they've only been outscored by 2 goals on the season. They have a 50.07 expected goal share, which means they're a roughly league average team. But 8 of their 13 goals have been classified as home games. The Sabres come in as a hungry bunch, having lost 3 of the last 4 as of late, but this is a tough place to win, and we've seen that before. The Rangers, 8-2-1 on the year. They're outscoring the opposition by 20 goals, yet they're currently in 4th place in the Metro. Carolina, Washington, and New Jersey also getting off to great starts. This is going to be one hell of a run going all the way to the end of the season to win this division. The Rangers have a 50.25 expected goals here, so slightly better than tonight's opposition, but they're a better team than what Buffalo is. The schedule favors the host, as New York has only played twice in November and have had the last 3 days off. All 3 games will be played without travel. So they're very well rested here, and they're getting a Buffalo team that, pretty good team, as you mentioned. I think they've better offensively than defensively on the season. I like some of their scorers, but I prefer the Rangers here. But the line is a little bit higher than what I want right now. It has taken some bets in on Buffalo, so hopefully we can get a little bit better line before we go. I use this as my free play on my site today. I like the Rangers, but I don't think we're in any hurry to bet on it right now. I'm hoping to get something a little bit better, and we'll lay the number here tonight with the Rangers.
That's the thing, Brian. I've been trying to play the game of either releasing plays earlier to clients or releasing them a few hours before game time, depending on how you feel that number is going to move around. And especially with some ugly dogs, if you're planning on betting any ugly dogs, it really works for that strategy. You can wait. It's only going to, some of those favorites just take money all day long. Then you can get the best price you possibly can. But Carm, the Buffalo Sabres, 5 goals against the Ottawa Senators. But this Rangers team, man, they're not going to take anybody lightly. What do you think?
All right, Andrew, this is where, for one of the few times this season on PuckTime, I'm going to use the word listen, because I used that plenty of times in the past. The price doesn't bug me here. Keep betting the Rangers. Keep pushing that line up, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to take the Sabres tonight in this one. They're plus 165, plus 170 at some books. This play is goalie dependent. I always talk about plays that I will not take the play if it is a different goalie. Shesterkin is confirmed for the Rangers, and we all know I'm a big Shesterkin fan. But right now, if it's Pekka Luukkonen in goal for the Sabres, I saw last year where he got hot and carried the Sabres for a couple weeks. And Andrew, he's getting hot. 5 of 6 games for Luukkonen. He's allowed 3 or fewer goals, but it's actually better than that. 4 of 6 games, he's allowed 2 or fewer goals. The Sabres don't get intimidated going into New York. 5 of the last 7 games between these two teams overall have gone to overtime. Last year, they went into New York. They beat them in New York and then took them to OT in New York before losing that game at Madison Square Gardens in OT 4-3. The Sabres are a live dog here, and I'm taking the price with them. So you give me the Buffalo Sabres plus 165. But again, this is a goalie-dependent play. It has to be Luukkonen in goal. If it's Devon Levi, however you want to pronounce his name, I am off the play, because then the Rangers become probably about minus 220, minus 230. The line is where it is, as high as it is, because Luukkonen's playing well right now for the Sabres team. Plus 165 if Luukkonen's in goal. No play if it's any other person in goal. It could be Dominic Hasek in goal, but I still wouldn't take it because the guy's like 60 now anyway. So with that said, Andrew, am I nuts here on this play? Or give me your thoughts. Am I nuts on this play? And then I want you to jump into the prop segment to keep this show moving along. And Andrew's muted.
I'm just happy that Teddy isn't on the show, so he's not correcting us when we mispronounce names, Carm. We'll get that name right for you eventually with Levi. But I like it, man. I like it when you're, you know what? You know how I know this is a good play from you? Because you rarely take the Sabres. And that's the thing. You don't want to be one of those guys that's constantly betting a team, constantly betting an underdog. And if you're going to tell me this is a good spot that you like it, and the way that he started it, Brian, too, everybody keep betting the Rangers. Fine by me. It's some confidence there over there with Carmine. So he wants the money to continue flying in on the Sabres. That's fine by me. On the Rangers, that's fine. I look forward to it. I look forward to this matchup here. And now between Brian and Carm, I look forward to seeing where the money goes. As Joe Ranieri would say, I'm Switzerland. I'm just right in here cheering for nobody to score. I don't want anything to happen. I want the under in this game. Let's get some good goaltending in this one. Let's also make some money in the prop betting market here, guys. Yesterday was 1-1 with the prop playbook segment, so we're going to try and get back to a 2-0 day. Before I jump into that, though, that promo code PUCK7 is still available, still up for grabs at WagerTalk. Big play today, and already like some plays for tomorrow. In the NHL. So you guys can use promo code PUCK7 to get 7 days of NHL for $49, $7 a day. You get all the plays, sides, totals, team totals, anything that I release. All right, the first bet we're going to give out is Kyle Palmieri from the New York Islanders over 2.5 shots on goal. Look, this Islanders team is not intimidating anybody with their superstars right now, especially if Barzal is out. But one thing about them right now is they only have a handful of guys that are really the offensive guys, the offensive weapons. Listen to these trends for Palmieri. 4 straight games over 2.5 shots on goal. 5 straight games versus Ottawa. He's gone over 2.5 shots on goal. And 5 of his last 7 away games, he's gone over 2.5 shots on goal. Not to mention, Ottawa ranks number 29 this season in shots on goal allowed. We'll go with Kyle Palmieri, who seems to turn back the clock lately. That guy's been playing for, it feels like, 20 years in this league, but he's doing really well lately. We'll take him over 2.5 shots on goal. And the game that we spoke about on Puck Time, the Sabres and the Rangers, I'm going to keep things going with the defenseman prop. These defensemen are cashing tickets for us, and we're getting good prices on them. Rasmus Dahlin, the captain of the Buffalo Sabres, up and over 2.5 shots on goal, whether it's him joining the rush, whether it's him on the power play, whether it's him just firing pucks from the point, he's getting shots, and he's actually have a ton of shot attempts as well each game. He's somebody I want to bet on, and also he's kind of worth a look for betting point props as well. So, Carm, those are my 2 points player props for today, and they're both in the same game.
I like it. I really do like the Palmieri one. That's the one that I had been looking at earlier. So when I saw it pop up in our production Slack, I'm like, oh, I really like this play. So very good. And you've been firing some really good darts, man. Some bullseyes. So not darts, but bullseyes. You've been hitting. So I hope that continues. Just like I hope Pekka Luukkonen's record against the Metro, where he's 17-10-6 versus the Metro, 291 goals against average, 907 save percentage. But I digress, Andrew. I'm really pushing this Sabres play tonight. I won't have any money on it. Probably a couple pizza slices on it. It is not a client play, but it could become a client play, Andrew. But with that said, let's give you a break. Let's give me a break, and let's send it over to Bryan. Winnipeg minus 140, 12-1 for this Winnipeg team, playing Colorado plus 120. We know what happened in last year's playoffs. This Jets team averaging 4.77 goals per game. Absolutely unbelievable. This team, what they are putting up. And if you think about the over in this game, think about the fact that it's going to be Georgiev in goal tonight. He's confirmed 4.62 goals against average, 822 save percentage. How this guy, there's something wrong with him. Clearly there's something wrong with Georgiev, other than I see the messages sometimes in the Slack, in our live chat, Georgiev's trash. Well, he's a goalie. He's a proven goalie. He's good, but he's playing like trash right now, Andrew. And he hasn't played since October 28th, Bryan. So would you look at the over in this one, or are you specifically looking at a team in this one?
Well, if he's trash, this is the NHL. Just come back in a month and he'll be golden. That's just the way it is. If a goalie has a terrible year, the next year he comes back, bounces back. It's a lot of luck involved from the goalie perspective. But yeah, I'm a little surprised by this line. In fact, this is one of my 2 plays today. In fact, you'll get both my hockey plays on the show today. I do have a play in college football, and I've got a play tomorrow, or a Saturday in college football, that are up right now. But yeah, I think this line's cheap. You know, despite the terrible start for the season for the Avalanche, they do have an impressive 52.24 expected goal share. That's come with 8 of their 13 games being played in Denver. That's a big advantage for anybody playing in Denver and Utah. The home advantages are stronger in those cities than a lot of others because of the altitude. And it's a tough stretch for Winnipeg. For Colorado, they play Winnipeg, Carolina. They've got Nashville revenge for a loss just a few days ago, and Los Angeles, and then the red-hot Washington Capitals on deck. So this is a situation for Colorado where luckily the last 4 of those games were all played at home, but very much like Nashville that I talked about earlier, I expect Colorado to be there at the end of the season, and all they have to do is make the playoffs with the talent they have. But still, you don't want to put yourself in such a position where you've got to win like they did last year. In fact, you remember that at one point they were just sniffing the playoffs. But it's the situation for Colorado that they've got to play better than what they have so far. You mentioned Winnipeg, terrific start to the season, 12-1-0. Got a 53.76 expected goal share. They own a net 40 season goal advantage on the Avalanche. 40 goals better than the Avalanche on this season. Jets are in the midst of a 4-game homestand with Dallas coming here on Saturday. In the long run, Colorado, as I mentioned, they'll be a major contender in the Central. But right now, they just haven't performed well at their usual level. Injuries and bad play is one of the reasons. As you mentioned, one of the goalies they were expecting to do well this year has been horrendous. This number is too cheap to not play the favorite. I expected something at least in the 150 range. I'll play Winnipeg here. They're just playing so much better than Colorado is right now.
All right, Andrew, I will let you jump in on this one. Give me your thoughts on what Bryan said or on this game itself.
What? Carm, what? I could have just done that
I'm
myself.
reading the messages from you. Yes, I know.
I literally told you I'll jump in, then you jump in to tell me to go. I would have just gone myself.
Oh, where
Carm
is the
wanted to talk
calmest
for a
man
second.
on earth, the Prez? Where's the calmest man on earth, the Prez, when we need him?
Oh man.
I will not be doing the Netflix or Hallmark 50 and 50 segment. I was just kidding about that. I know some of you guys are looking forward to it. As far as Hallmark goes, it's just the same actors, and it's like the Magic 8
The
Ball. They
same
just
movie
shake
every
it up.
time.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
just shake up the actors and then they spill them all back out again. And then it's like, okay, so you're the guy returning to your old hometown that is looking for his long lost girlfriend from high school. And you meet up and he's going to help out your business. Anyways, that's pretty much Hallmark. I've saved you guys about 18 hours of Hallmark movies by mentioning that. Andrew, I'm going over in this game until I see Georgiev play better. Winnipeg can score goals. It seems like Colorado has their number. I think we see a higher scoring game here. That's my thought on this game. So give me the over and I'll go to you.
Yeah, it sounds like we're on the same page with a lot of stuff here today, Carmen. I like the over in this game too. Look, here on PuckTime, I had some small leans to some unders recently in Avalanche games, and it didn't go very well. I said that, hey, look, this team is still undermanned. This team is still missing some guys. These are some games they're going to try and win low scoring. They didn't do that at all. No matter who it was that stepped up, they were able to score. And it hasn't just been McKinnon. It's been by Company, and it's been by Rantanen, and it's been by a couple of these guys, the bottom six, really stepping things up. But, hey, it really helps to get Arturi Lehkonen back in the lineup when he literally scores in his first game back with the team. You got to love that. And I'm sure a lot of heavy prop bettors were really excited about that as well. But as Carm mentioned, there's been some goals in the recent history between these two teams. And Colorado's done well in the recent history between these teams. 7-1-2 to the overs, the record, last 10 between these clubs. 6 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals, and 5 goals the last 4 games for the Avalanche, and they've won 4 straight against that team. To me, you look at Winnipeg right now, they score 5 goals like it looks like an average thing for them. They score 5 goals like some teams score 2 or 3 goals. I think the over 6.5 is the play. You guys know a lot of the times when I take overs lately, I'm picking one team. I'm isolating one team for a team total. Today, I can't pick that team. At this point, does anybody really want to bet against Winnipeg? Do you really want to do that? I felt good when I took Toronto against Winnipeg and they had their first loss of the season. But at this point, Brian talked about it. The goal differential and the goals on the season for Winnipeg compared to a lot of other teams, it's substantial. I mean, the scoring that they're doing, the seasons, I'll continue to say this because I like to keep people up to date. I know it's a betting show, but if you put a handful of those players on the Winnipeg Jets on a team like the Edmonton Oilers or Toronto Maple Leafs in Canada, oh my God, those guys are talked about way more. But hey, they're over there in Winnipeg and nobody really gives those guys attention. They're a good team with a lot of good players. Give me the over 6.5 here. Carm, you had the push yesterday, but you're back in action. I like this play you have for us today, though. What are you doing for the ladder challenge tonight?
Sorry, clearing my throat for this one, and just replying to some people who asked about Cale Makar. He did suffer an injury in that last game, but apparently came out of it okay and did travel with the team. And it's being reported online that he's a game time decision, but I would think he would go in this one if he's even 80% and good to go. So Colorado getting healthy at the right time. Don't need to lose any more players. All right, ladder challenge. So we pushed yesterday on the ladder challenge. We had chances to win it with some power plays late in that first period, but didn't get them. This is an even money bet. I'm taking the Carolina Hurricanes -1.5 on the puck line, even money, 240 to win, 240. So that'll get us halfway to the ladder challenge. Carolina playing some really good hockey right now. 7 of their 9 wins have been by 2+ goals, including all 4 games at home this season that they've won. Each game has been by 2 or more goals. Pittsburgh obviously struggling right now. 6 of their 9 losses have been by 2 or more goals. So we're just going to use some easy numbers and hopefully get a win on this one. And we know Carolina's a very good team, so they're going to win at home. Come on, guys. Let's get to step 3 of this ladder challenge. Carolina Hurricanes -1.5, even money, 240 to win 240 at 480. One more play will get us over that hump and cash a ladder challenge play. Thoughts, boys?
Thoughts are the Hurricanes are playing well right now, Carm, and the Pittsburgh Penguins probably won't be able to deal with the speed the Hurricanes have. And the Hurricanes are healthy, which is a big thing for them. They haven't been healthy for quite some time, which is nice to see for them. And, you know, Brian, everyone thought the Hurricanes were going to take a step back, and all of a sudden this team is just flying around the ice, looking pretty good this year. So that Metropolitan Division is a bit more competitive than some might have thought it was going to be, at least with the top 3 or 4 teams. I think you were mentioning that earlier in the show. Any thoughts for you on that? And then overall, college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, lot going on right now, man. How are things with you at WagerTalk?
Yeah, everything's great. College basketball, I finished, ended last year. I believe I was number 3 overall in net profit in college basketball, off to another winning start here. I have no opinion on his play. I don't like to lay 1.5 in a hockey game or in a baseball game. I prefer to play the money line, but I understand that it's high. He's trying to limit that exposure. But yeah, I've got the 2 plays I've got up in college football. One tonight. We've done very well on these weekday plays, and then one early game for Saturday. As I mentioned, we've got the 2 plays up in hockey today. Winnipeg, you've got that one. This was going to be my best bet on the show here. I don't understand this line. Calgary at Boston. The Flames are 7-5-1 on the season, -2 goal differential. Got a 48.71 expected goal share this year. Their last 5 losses have come against Edmonton, Utah, decent team, Vegas, Winnipeg, and Carolina. Winnipeg and Carolina are probably the 2 hottest teams in hockey right now. And because of that, I think the Calgary is a much better team than this line suggests. This isn't the same old Bruins club that we've seen in the last few seasons. They're 6-7-1 on the year with a -12 goal differential. As for their expected goals, Boston comes in at 49.84, only slightly better than the Flames. In fact, Boston's yet to beat, check this out, they're yet to beat any team that currently has more wins than losses. They split against Toronto, a team that's 7-5-2. That's 7-7. So they've yet to beat a team with a winning record all season long. Calgary's a better team than what a lot of people think. And with any type of scheduling advantage here for Boston, I think there's no way Boston should be favored in this price range. Give me Calgary. I would, if you'd like to take the +1.5, that's fine with me also. But there's no way this Boston team should be this high up. They're not the same team as they've been in the past. They're only 4-3 straight up at home, and we saw last year they really slumped at home. They weren't nearly as strong at home as they had been in previous years. I got a nice, good price here on Calgary. I think they're like a 160 range, plus here against Boston.
All right. The one time it was going back to me. My bad. All right. This is crazy.
Andrew,
Okay.
This show. Okay. This show is like I said to you in our private Slack. This show is like peanut butter. Sometimes it's smooth. Sometimes it's full of nuts. Brian's on it today. It's full of nuts. What can I tell you, man? Okay, I will go next, Andrew, so then you can give us a best bet and close it out. I just figured you would give me a little bit of a break after that ladder challenge one. Same play as my best bet, which is the ladder challenge play. Carolina -1.5, even money. That's gonna, I think, steam to -105, -110. I'm starting to see some 105s pop up on our WagerTalk live lines. One play loaded thus far tonight. It is a 5% play, a second 5% play of the season for me. Won the first one with Vancouver in regulation. That one went smoothly, just like peanut butter. Let's hope tonight's play does as well. and then some plays up for the weekend already. College football game of the week for me. I've only released 4% plays in college football this season. Number 2 in college football going into last night. All 5 of those plays have won. And I've got another one loaded up for Saturday. You can get that over at WagerTalk on my page. Great time to get the 3-day all access because you'll get all plays today, tomorrow, and Saturday. And there's plenty of action across all sports for me. So pick that up. And let's go Carolina Hurricanes tonight. Get that cover. Andrew, give us a show best bet and close it out.
Love when the ladder challenge is on the same page as the best bets, Carm, and that PUCK7 promo code's all I have to mention, including a big play today at WagerTalk.com. You guys can grab that over there at my homepage, or you can use that promo code PUCK7. You get 7 days of NHL, $7 a day, $49. PUCK7, a great deal there. But the best bet for me, we're going to rock with the over in the Flames and Bruins game. To me, when I look at this, I see a team getting shut out, I want to take the over in the next game that they're playing. It's just plain and simple for me. The way it's been working lately, the certain situations it's working the best in are situations like this. Second game of the road trip for the Flames. And I'll put it this way, guys. The game the Flames played against the Habs finished 3-2. But I watched that game start to finish because I put myself through pain watching every Habs game. That game could have easily had 3 or 4 more goals. This Flames defensive core is going to start to fall apart, and I think it will fall apart early in this game. But as well with Boston, I think we see goals from both teams early and often. I love the minus 125 price tag. I'm fine with it. So we'll go over 1.5 in the first period. Cash a ticket early in this game. All right, guys. A lot of picks. A lot of confusion, a lot of action, though, on this show. We appreciate all of you guys for being here. Please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and comment below to tell us what you are betting tonight. You can find the 3 of us at WagerTalk.com. And until next time, signing off from PuckTime, I'm Andrew. We'll see you guys next time.